The crash. The night sky burned with fire. Metal screamed as the transport ship tore through the strange planet's atmosphere. Shattered steel rained down across black sand and broken stone. The ground shook as the wreckage hit. Then silence. Only the crackle of small fires remained. Among the twisted ruins of the ship, a man opened his eyes. His vision blurred. His ears rang. His chest hurt with every breath. He tried to move, but his body refused. For a moment, he thought he was dead. The human, Elias, slowly pushed himself up. His hands were cut and burned, his clothes ripped. He looked around, but all he saw was destruction. The air was heavy, glowing faintly with strange colors that did not belong in any normal sky. Shadows shifted across the ruins as if the planet itself was alive. Elias coughed, tasting smoke. He had no idea where he was. He remembered the alarms, the captain shouting, the sudden impact. Then darkness, now only wreckage. A sound broke through the silence. A low groan. Not human. Elias froze. His instincts told him to run, but his mind whispered someone survived. He forced his tired legs to move. Step by step, he followed the sound deeper into the broken hull. Flames flickered on the metal walls, painting everything in orange light. There she was. Half buried under a beam, a figure struggled weakly. Not human, a soldier of another race. Her skin shimmered pale blue, her armor cracked and broken. Her leg was twisted at an angle no leg should ever bend. She breathed fast in pain, her eyes unfocused. Elias hesitated. She was not like him. Not his kind. Maybe not even his ally. But in that moment, she was just another living being trapped in the same nightmare. He rushed forward and knelt beside her. "Hey, stay with me," he said softly, though he doubted she understood his words. Her eyes met his for a moment. There was fear there, but also something else, hope. Elias tried to lift the beam. It was heavy, but he forced his weight against it. With a grunt, the metal shifted enough for him to pull her free. She gasped in pain, biting back a cry. Her leg was broken badly. He had seen injuries like this before, back on Earth, in accidents and battlefields. He knew he had to set it or she would not survive long. "I'll fix this," he muttered, more to himself than to her. He tore strips of cloth from his shirt and searched the wreck for anything he could use as a splint. His hands shook as he worked. The alien woman watched him, her breathing sharp and fast. When he touched her leg, she cried out. I know," Elias whispered. "Hold on." He braced himself to set the bone, but just as he placed his hands, she suddenly grabbed his shirt with surprising strength. Her voice was weak, broken, but the words were clear. "Don't let go." Elias froze. The words were heavy, filled with fear. Her eyes darted toward the dark corners of the wreckage. He looked around. The fire crackled. The wind whistled through broken steel. Nothing moved, but something about her tone made his skin crawl. "Who's there?" Elias whispered, half to himself. The alien woman clung tighter to his shirt. Her voice trembled as she repeated, "Don't let go." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. He had survived crashes before. He had seen battlefields, death, and monsters of war. But the fear in her eyes was different. It was not pain. It was not despair. It was pure terror of something unseen. He listened. At first only silence, then a sound, a faint clicking noise like claws on stone. It echoed through the ruins. Slow, careful, watching. Elias's breath caught. He scanned the shadows but saw nothing. Only the strange glow in the alien sky lit the wreckage. The woman whispered again, softer this time. "They're here." Elias felt his heart pound. He did not know who they were. He did not know if he could fight them. But he knew one thing. He could not leave her. Not now. Not when she had begged him not to let go. He tightened his grip on her hand. His voice was steady, even though fear pressed at his chest. "I'm not going anywhere." The clicking grew louder. Something moved in the shadows. The crash had been only the beginning. The warning, the fire burned low, crackling inside the broken ship. The air was thick with smoke and strange colors that shimmered like ghosts in the sky. Elias sat close to the wounded alien woman, keeping one hand near her shoulder as if afraid she might vanish if he let go. Her grip on his shirt had loosened, but her eyes were still wide with fear. She whispered again, her voice trembling. "Don't let go." Elias nodded. "I'm here. I won't." Her words echoed in his head. He wanted to ask more, but he knew she was in pain. Her leg needed fixing. He had to act quickly. He pressed down gently, preparing to set the bone. She gasped, biting her lip, but she did not scream. Almost there, Elias murmured. He pulled the bone into place with steady force. The sound was sickening. She clenched her fists against his arm, and for a moment Elias thought she might pass out. When it was done, he wrapped the splint tight with cloth. The bleeding slowed. Her breathing softened. Sweat glistened on her forehead. "You'll live," he said quietly. "But only if we stay alive together." The clicking noise returned. Louder now, closer. Elias froze, staring into the dark corners of the wreck. His heartbeat thumped like a drum. Slowly, the woman reached for his arm again. Her voice cracked, but the words were clear. "They hunt fear. They hunt sound," Elias frowned. She spoke in broken English, or maybe his mind filled the gaps, but the warning chilled him. "Hunt fear? Hunt sound? What are they?" he asked. She shook her head. Her lips trembled as she whispered, "Shadows. They do not bleed." Elias's stomach tightened. He wanted to believe she was just delirious from the injury, but the clicking sound was real. The movement in the dark was real. He leaned closer to her. "What do they want?" Her eyes met his, glowing faintly in the firelight. "They want us alive." The silence that followed was heavier than the wreckage around them. Elias clenched his jaw. If the creatures wanted them alive, it was not mercy. It was hunger. The woman's hands shook as she pointed toward the ruined wall. "They wait there, always waiting." Elias looked, but the shadows seemed empty. Still, his instincts screamed otherwise. Something was out there, watching, listening. He lowered his voice. "We can't stay here. If they hunt sound, the fire will draw them. We need to move." She shook her head quickly. "No, move fast, they follow." "Stay quiet, they circle." Elias rubbed his forehead. Every choice felt like a trap. If they stayed, they would be surrounded. If they moved, they might be hunted. But he could not abandon her. "What's your name?" Elias asked suddenly, hoping to distract her from the fear. She hesitated. "Serenia." "Serenia," Elias repeated softly. "I'm Elias." Her lips curved into the smallest, weakest smile. For a moment, the fear in her eyes softened. But then the clicking grew again. Not one sound, many. Surrounding, above, below. Serenia gripped his shirt tightly once more. Too late. The temperature dropped. The air itself felt heavier. Elias shivered as he looked toward the ship's torn wall. A shape moved there. Just for a second. Long limbs too thin, bending in ways bones should not bend. Black skin that shimmered like smoke. No face. Only hollow emptiness where eyes should have been. It did not step into the firelight. It stayed just at the edge, blending into the shadows. Watching, Elias's mouth went dry. He had fought men, machines, beasts. But this was different. This thing did not feel alive. Serenia's voice was barely a breath. "Don't look at it. Don't speak. If they know fear, they will take us." Elias swallowed hard. He forced his hands to stay steady. "Then what do we do?" Her answer was broken, whispered like a prayer. "We wait. We stay close. And we hope. Hope they choose another prey." The shadow shifted again. Another joined it. Then another. Dozens of clicking sounds echoed through the ruins, circling. The creatures were patient. Silent hunters, Elias's thoughts raced. They were trapped. No weapons, no escape. Only fire and silence between life and death. Serenia's hand trembled against his arm. "You should leave me. Save yourself." Elias shook his head instantly. His voice was low but firm. "Not happening. I don't leave people behind." Her eyes widened. She seemed almost confused. "Even me?" "I am not your kind," Elias met her gaze. "Doesn't matter. You asked me not to let go." For the first time, Serenia's eyes filled with tears. She whispered something in her own language, a word Elias did not understand. But the meaning was clear. It was gratitude. Outside, the shadows shifted closer. The clicking grew faster, sharper, echoing all around them. The fire burned lower. The light faded. Elias reached for a jagged piece of metal from the wreck, holding it like a weapon. His other hand stayed locked with Serenia's. The hunters were closing in. The first attack. The fire sank lower, glowing like dying embers. The wrecked ship creaked in the cold wind. Elias crouched close to Serenia, his eyes fixed on the torn wall where the shadows had moved. The clicking was louder now. It came from every direction, above, behind, around. Elias's grip on the jagged piece of metal tightened until his knuckles turned white. Serenia whispered, "They test us, waiting for the fire to die." Her face was pale, her body weak, but her eyes were sharp. She knew these creatures better than he did. Elias leaned close. What do they want first? She shivered. They wait for fear. Fear calls them. Elias tried to steady his breathing. His chest rose and fell in slow, heavy pulls. He forced his heartbeat to calm, though it pounded in his ears. He could not let her see he was afraid. But then the sound changed. Click, 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 faster, sharper. Elias spun his head toward the ruined ceiling. Something crawled above. Long fingers hooked into the metal, pulling a body through the shadows. It moved like smoke, bending unnaturally like it had no bones. Stay still, Serenia hissed. Don't move. But it was too late. The creature dropped from the ceiling. It hit the ground with no sound at all, as if its body was made of air. Yet Elias felt the weight of it in his chest. He saw the long limbs, the hollow face, the twisting body that seemed to shimmer in and out of sight. It leaned forward, sniffing, though it had no nose. Elias didn't breathe. His heart threatened to pound out of his chest. The creature turned toward Serenia. Her body stiffened. She pressed her lips tight to keep from crying out. Her broken leg shook as the thing's long claws dragged across the floor, leaving scratches in the metal. No, Elias whispered, too low for it to hear. The creature leaned close to her, its head tilted like a question. Its hollow face opened, stretching wider and wider until it was only darkness. Elias couldn't stop himself. He shouted, "Hey!" The thing turned instantly toward him. Its body twisted unnaturally, arms snapping in strange angles as it faced him. The clicking grew wild. It launched forward. Elias swung the metal shard. Sparks flew as it scraped the creature's arm. To his shock, it screeched, an awful, piercing noise like broken glass. It stumbled back, twitching. Serenia gasped. You made it bleed. Elias's hands shook. He saw dark liquid dripping from the wound, smoking as it hit the ground. The creature hissed, its empty face now filled with fury. It charged again. Elias braced. He slammed the metal shard upward, cutting into its chest. The shadow beast screeched louder, flailing. Its claw sliced across Elias's shoulder, tearing flesh. Pain exploded down his arm, but he did not fall. With a roar, Elias drove the shard deeper. The creature spasmed and dissolved into smoke, vanishing into the air. Silence. Only Elias's ragged breathing and Serenia's wide eyes remained. You killed it, she whispered in disbelief. No one kills them. Elias dropped to one knee, clutching his bleeding shoulder. Guess they're not invincible after all. But before he could catch his breath, more clicking erupted around them. Dozens of eyes glowed faintly in the dark. Shadows twisted along the wreck walls. The first creature had been only a scout. Now the rest were coming. Serenia's voice trembled. They know. They know we can hurt them. Now they will not stop. Elias wiped the blood from his face. His chest heaved. He felt weak, but a strange fire burned inside him. For the first time, the creatures had screamed. For the first time, they had bled. He turned to Serenia. Then we fight. She shook her head. No, you don't understand. They don't stop until everything is gone, fire, flesh, hope, everything. Elias forced a grin even through the pain. Then they picked the wrong human. The clicking grew louder, closer, circling. Shadows stretched across the walls like long fingers. The ship creaked as claws scraped against it from the outside. Elias tightened his grip on the shard, blood dripping from his wound. His other hand reached for Serenia's. He squeezed it tight, steady. Her voice broke as she whispered, You can't save us. Elias looked into her eyes, fierce and unshaken. Watch me. The first of the pack crawled through the broken wall. Its claws dripped with black smoke. Others followed, crawling over each other, filling the ruins with hissing and clicking. The fire burned lower. The light was dying. Elias stood, one man against the shadows. Serenia, weak but defiant, reached for a broken weapon at her side. Together they faced the darkness. The pack lunged. The bond. The wreck was silent again. The pack had not yet rushed inside. They circled instead, their claws scraping metal, their hollow clicks echoing like a drumbeat of death. Inside, Elias leaned against a broken wall, his chest rising and falling in heavy breaths. His shoulder burned where the creature's claws had cut him. Blood dripped down his arm, but he pressed it with cloth to slow the flow. Across from him, Serenia watched with wide eyes. She looked weak, pale, but her gaze was steady on him. You fought them, she whispered. You hurt them. No one has ever, Elias gave a tired grin. Guess no one ever tried hard enough. Serenia shook her head. You don't understand, my people. We run from them, we hide. Even soldiers fear them. But you—" She hesitated. "You stood in their path." Elias shrugged, though the pain nearly made him fall. "You needed help. That's enough reason." Her eyes softened. Why help me? I am not human." "Not your kind." Elias looked at her seriously. "Because you asked me not to let go." The words hung in the air like a vow. Serenya's lips trembled. She pressed her hand against her chest as if holding back something heavy. Then she whispered in her own language a word Elias did not know. But he understood. It was gratitude. The clicking outside grew louder. Elias forced himself to stand. He gripped the shard of metal like a sword. "They're waiting. Testing us. They'll come again." Serenya tried to sit up, but her broken leg betrayed her. Pain crossed her face. "I should fight too," she said bitterly. "But I cannot." Elias knelt beside her. "You can still fight. Just not with your leg." He pulled a piece of broken wiring from the wreck, sparking faintly. He handed it to her. "Make this count if they come close." She took it, her fingers shaking, but a fierce light burned in her eyes. For a while they sat in silence. The fire cracked, shadows swayed. Outside, claws scraped closer, circling like wolves. Elias's mind wandered back to Earth, to the times he had seen soldiers abandoned, left to die. He had promised himself long ago, never again. And now, even if Serenya was alien, that promise still held. "You know," Elias said softly, "where I come from, we say no one gets left behind. Not in battle. Not in life. If one falls, we carry them." Serenya turned her head, studying him. "Strange words. Strange heart? Strange?" Elias asked with a faint smile. "Strange," she said, "but strong." Their eyes held for a moment longer than either expected. For the first time since the crash, Serenya's fear eased. But then a loud crash shook the wreck. Metal bent inward, claws tearing through the wall. The pack was no longer waiting. They were hungry. Elias jumped to his feet. "Get ready." Serenya gripped the sparking wire tight. Her voice was firm now, filled with new strength. "If we die together." Elias looked back at her and shook his head. "No, we live together." The first creature burst through the wall. Its body twisted like liquid shadow, claws dripping black smoke. Its empty face stretched wide, screeching. Elias swung his shard, sparks flying as metal met claw. The impact shook his arm. He pushed back hard, driving the creature into the firelight. It screamed, its skin burning where flames touched. "Fire hurts them," Elias shouted. Serenya's eyes widened. "Then burn them all." The creature lunged again. Elias ducked low, stabbing the shard deep into its chest. The monster writhed, shrieking as smoke poured from its wound. Another crawled in through the roof. Its long arm reached for Serenya. She swung the sparking wire, striking the creature's claw. Electricity flared. The beast screeched, recoiling, her face lit with shock. She had heard it. She had fought. Elias turned just in time to block another strike. Pain ripped through his wounded shoulder, but he refused to fall. "Stay with me, Serenya." He roared. She shouted back, her voice fierce. "I will not let go." They fought side by side. Man and alien, weak and strong, broken and unbroken. For a moment, Elias forgot the fear. He forgot the shadows outside. All he knew was the fire in his chest and the bond that held them together. But the pack was endless. For every monster they struck down, another crawled through the wreck. Their fire was dying, their weapons crude. Elias's body ached, his vision blurred. And then, a scream. Not from Elias, not from Serenya, but from deep in the ruins. A cry so loud it shook the ground. The other creatures froze. Even they trembled. Serenya's face turned pale. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "No, not that one. Not the Alpha." Elias tightened his grip on the shard, his jaw set. "Alpha or not, we're not giving up." Outside, heavy steps crushed the sand. A larger shadow moved through the wreck, taller than the rest, its body dripping with black smoke. Its clicks were deeper, slower, like the beating of a giant drum. The Alpha had come, and it wanted them both alive. The hunt grows darker. The wreck shook with every step the Alpha took. Its heavy claws sank deep into the black sand outside, each movement slow but certain, like a predator that already owned its prey. The other creatures hissed and clicked, falling back into the shadows as if even they feared their leader. Inside, Elias tightened his grip on the shard of metal, though his wounded shoulder burned with pain. Serenia sat against the wall, clutching the sparking wire. Her face was pale, her chest heaving, but her eyes were locked on the darkness beyond. She whispered, "It hunts differently. Not like the others. It waits until you are tired, until you are broken." Elias spat blood from his lip and forced a grin. "Then it'll be waiting a long time." But inside, his body screamed in protest. He could feel the weakness creeping into his limbs. Every movement hurt. And the Alpha? The Alpha was unlike anything he had faced. The wreck groaned as claws scraped across the metal shell. A massive shape leaned close, hollow face pressed against the broken wall. The Alpha was taller than any human, its limbs long and crooked, its body dripping black smoke like burning tar, its head twisted in unnatural angles as if sniffing the air, though it had no nose. Then it spoke. Not in words. Not in sound. But in the mind, Elias froze as a voice slithered into his thoughts. Run, hide, scream, fear me. His knees weakened. The air around him grew heavy, but he clenched his fists and roared back in his head. Not today. Beside him, Serenia shuddered, her hand pressed against her temple, as if the Alpha's voice cut through her skull. It invades. It makes you afraid. Elias leaned close, gripping her shoulder. Listen to me. Don't let it in. You're stronger than it wants you to believe. Her breathing steadied. She looked into his eyes, and the terror faded just enough. The Alpha drew back, and the wreck fell silent. For a moment, Elias thought it had gone. Then the hissing began again. Dozens of smaller creatures crawled over the walls, ceiling, and ground, their claws scratching like knives. The Alpha had sent its pack first. They poured in through the gaps in the wreck, their hollow faces clicking in unison. Elias pulled Serenia close to the fire. They don't like fire. We make it bigger, hotter. He grabbed a half-broken pipe, stuffed it with burning cloth, and lit it in the flame. A makeshift torch. He shoved another piece of wreckage into the fire, feeding it until the flames grew high again. The first creature lunged. Elias swung the torch, fire licking across its skin. It shrieked and recoiled, smoke rising from its body. See? Elias shouted. They can burn. Serenia's hands shook, but determination filled her voice. Then let us burn the night. She crawled closer to the wreck's broken wall, dragging a line of fire with a piece of sparking wire and torn cloth. Flames spread slowly, creating a barrier. The pack hissed louder, circling but not yet leaping through. But they were learning. One of the beasts darted in low, avoiding the fire. Elias swung his shard, cutting deep. The creature dissolved into smoke, but another rushed right behind it. He stumbled back, his torch slipping from his hand. Serenia cried out, shoving the sparking wire forward. Lightning danced as she struck the creature's arm. It screamed and pulled away, vanishing into the dark. Her chest heaved. I cannot do this long. My body is weak. Elias caught her hand and squeezed it tight. Then lean on me. We fight together. For a moment, silence again. Only the crackle of flames and their ragged breathing filled the air. Then the Alpha roared. It was not a sound of this world. The ground shook, the wreck trembled, and even the fire bent away from the force. The smaller creatures screeched in reply, their hollow voices echoing like a choir of death. Serenia's face went pale. It is angry. It will come itself now. Elias looked at her, bloodied and exhausted but unbroken. Good, let it come. But the Alpha did not attack right away. Instead, it struck from afar. The wreck groaned as its claws ripped through the metal roof. A long shadow fell across the fire. Black smoke poured in, choking the flames. The air grew thin, colder, harder to breathe. Elias coughed, swinging his shard at the creeping smoke, but it was useless. The Alpha was suffocating them, killing the fire without stepping inside. Serenia clutched his arm. If the fire dies, we die with it. Elias's eyes darted across the wreck. He spotted a half-broken fuel cell lying among the debris. Dangerous, volatile, explosive. A desperate idea sparked in his mind. Serenia, he said, his voice low. We're going to make the biggest fire they've ever seen. Her eyes widened. That will kill us. Not if we time it right. The fire sputtered lower. The clicking of the pack grew closer. The Alpha's shadow stretched taller across the wall, waiting for the flames to die. Elias grabbed the fuel cell, dragging it toward the fire. His arms trembled under its weight. This is our chance. One shot. Serenia stared at him, then slowly nodded. Together, they pushed the fuel cell closer. The fire flickered. The pack crawled nearer, and the Alpha's massive frame leaned over the wreck. Elias met Serenia's eyes one last time. When I say now, hold tight. The Alpha's claws pierced the roof. The fire hissed as smoke smothered it. The wreck filled with clicking. The pack lunged all at once. The last stand. The wreck shook as the pack poured in, their claws scraping the floor, their hollow faces stretched wide. The Alpha loomed above the broken roof, its massive frame dripping with smoke, its claws tearing through steel as if it were paper. Elias dragged the fuel cell closer to the fire, his chest heaving, his arms trembling. The fire sputtered low, choking under the smoke, but it still burned faintly. He looked at Serenia, her face pale but fierce, sparks dancing from the wire in her hands. "This is it," he said, his voice raw. "One fight. One chance." Serenia's gaze locked on his. "Then we fight as one." The first creature leapt through the wall. Elias swung his metal shard, slamming it into its chest. Black liquid sprayed as it shrieked, dissolving into smoke. Another came from the ceiling, but Serenia struck with the sparking wire, lightning tearing through its claw. The monster convulsed and vanished into the shadows. But for every one they struck down, two more took its place. The wreck filled with screeches and clicking, the walls alive with crawling limbs. Elias shouted over the chaos, "Hold them off! Just a little longer." He shoved the fuel cell directly into the fire. The flames hissed, then roared, rising higher, burning brighter. Heat washed over them. The pack shrieked, recoiling from the sudden light. For a heartbeat, Elias felt hope. Then the Alpha struck. Its claw crashed through the roof, smashing the fire apart, scattering burning debris across the floor. The flames sputtered, shrinking again. Smoke filled the air, choking their lungs. The Alpha lowered its head into the wreck. Its hollow face stretched wide and its voice slithered into their minds. "You cannot stop me. You are prey. You are nothing." Elias's knees buckled. His vision blurred. The voice was too heavy, too dark, like chains pulling him into the ground. But then Serenia's hand gripped his arm. Her voice cut through the noise. "No, you are not nothing. You are human." The word hit Elias like a spark. Human. He remembered Earth. He remembered faces he had saved, people he had carried from burning wrecks. He remembered his vow, never leave anyone behind. His chest burned with new fire. He stood tall, shouting into the darkness. "We're not prey. Not today." He lifted the shard, blood dripping from his arm, and charged. The Alpha roared, its massive claw swinging down. Elias rolled aside, the steel tearing the floor where he had stood. He leapt onto the claw, driving his shard deep into its flesh. Black smoke hissed from the wound. The Alpha shrieked, shaking violently, but Elias held on. "Now, Serenia," he shouted. She dragged herself forward, sparks flying from her wire. She jabbed it into the fuel cell, screaming with effort. The cell glowed, the flames bursting outward in a violent wave. Fire exploded through the wreck, lighting every corner. The smaller creatures shrieked, burning alive, their bodies dissolving into ash and smoke. The Alpha roared, twisting in pain as fire licked across its massive frame. But it did not fall. It slammed Elias against the wall, claws raking across his chest. Pain ripped through him, blood soaking his shirt. He gasped, his grip loosening. For a moment he thought he would fade into the dark. Then Serenia screamed his name. Her broken leg dragged behind her, but she pushed herself forward, slamming the sparking wire into the Alpha's side. Electricity flared, crackling through the beast. It howled, thrashing, but she did not let go. Her voice was fierce, shaking with pain and fire. "You will not take him!" The Alpha's screech shook the wreck. It reared back, clawing at the sparks tearing through its body. Elias fell to the floor, coughing, gasping for air. Through the haze of pain, he looked at Serenia. She stood, broken and bleeding but unyielding. Her face glowed with firelight, her eyes burning with the same will he carried. Together, they had become something more than prey. But the Alpha was not finished. It tore free from the sparks, smoke pouring from its wounds. Its massive frame filled the wreck, towering over them both. Its voice thundered in their minds, "You cannot kill me. You are weak. You will break." Elias forced himself to his feet, blood dripping, vision spinning. He raised the shard one last time. "Then I'll break with my hands around your throat." The Alpha roared and lunged. Elias and Serenia braced themselves, fire behind them, steel in their hands, and the wreck collapsed around them. The escape and the lesson, the wreck collapsed with a thunderous roar. Steel groaned, fire flared, and dust swallowed the world in darkness. Elias lay pinned beneath a twisted beam, His chest burned, his shoulder screamed with pain, and his breath came shallow. For a moment he thought he was gone. Then, movement. A weak hand gripped his. Serenia. Her face was cut and bruised, her armor broken, but her eyes were open. She coughed, forcing words past the blood on her lips. "Elias, don't. Let go." The same words she had whispered when he first found her. The words that had started it all. He tightened his grip. "I'm not letting go, not now. Not ever." Above them, the Alpha stirred. Its massive frame pushed through the wreckage. Burned, torn, and smoking, but not dead. Its hollow face turned toward them, black smoke spilling from its wounds. Its voice slithered into their minds once more. "You fight. You burn. You bleed. But in the end, you are nothing," Elias growled, forcing himself to move. He shoved against the beam, his muscles screaming, his body refusing. For a second it didn't budge. Then Serenia placed her hand beside his, pushing with him. Together they heaved. The beam shifted, enough for Elias to drag himself free, then pull her close. They were broken. Bleeding. Barely alive. But they were still together. The Alpha loomed closer, every step shaking the ruins. Its long claws stretched toward them, shadows spreading like wings. Serenia's voice cracked. "We cannot win." Elias shook his head, blood dripping down his face. "Maybe not, but we can survive." He scanned the wreck. Through the broken hull he saw faint light. Dawn. The sky was turning red and gold. And in the distance, a flare still burned from the ship's distress beacon. Rescue was possible, but they had to reach it. The Alpha clicked louder, sensing their thought blocking their path. Elias whispered, "It's not stronger than us. It only wins if we give up. So we don't." Serenia looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Then we fight to reach the light." They rose together, leaning on one another, each holding a broken weapon. Elias's shard glowed faintly with blood and fire. Serenia's sparking wire flickered, weak but alive. The Alpha roared, shaking the ground. The last of its pack hissed in the shadows, crawling closer. Elias set his feet, pulling Serenia close. "On my signal, run," he charged first. With a scream that tore through his lungs, he drove the shard into the Alpha's claw. The beast howled, jerking back. Serenia struck with her wire, sparks dancing across its chest. The monster shrieked, twisting, its smoke swirling violently. "Now!" Elias shouted. They ran, broken, limping, bleeding. But they ran, through the wreck, past the shadows into the dawn. Behind them, the Alpha screeched, tearing through steel, chasing with fury. The ground shook with every step it took. The beacon light flashed ahead. Salvation. Elias's vision blurred. His body wanted to collapse, but Serenia's hand gripped his arm, pulling him forward. "Don't stop," she cried. He didn't, he couldn't. The Alpha lunged, claws outstretched. Elias turned, shoving Serenia ahead. The claw slammed into him, ripping his side. Pain exploded, but he didn't fall. He grabbed the beast's limb, locking it with both arms. "Go!" he shouted. "Get to the beacon." Serenia froze, her eyes wide with horror. "No, do it!" Elias roared, blood spilling from his mouth. "I said I wouldn't let go, and I won't." "Not of you, not of this fight." For a moment, Serenia stared at him, tears in her eyes. Then something shifted in her face. A new fire, a new strength. She limped forward, dragging the sparking wire with her. She screamed, a sound filled with pain and fury, and drove the wire deep into the Alpha's chest. Electricity exploded. The monster howled, thrashing, smoke tearing from its body. "Now, Elias," she cried. Elias tore the shard free from the beast's claw and slammed it into the fuel cell that had rolled near the fire. The world exploded. Flames swallowed the wreck, engulfing the Alpha and its pack. The blast shook the ground, sending smoke and ash high into the sky. Elias and Serenia were thrown forward, rolling across the sand. Silence followed, broken only by the crackle of dying fire. Slowly, Elias pushed himself up, coughing. His body screamed, but he was alive. He turned, searching. Serenia lay a few feet away, her chest rising and falling. Alive, too. He crawled to her, pulling her close. Her eyes opened weakly, and for the first time she smiled. You never let go," she whispered. Elias smiled back, blood on his lips. "Told you." Above them, the dawn broke fully. Light spilled across the black sand, chasing away the last shadows. The Alpha was gone. Only ash remained. In the distance, engines roared. Rescue ships descending, drawn by the beacon's signal. Serenia gripped Elias's hand one last time. Her voice was faint, but filled with awe. "Your kind, humans, you are dangerous. Not because of strength. Not because of weapons, but because you refused to let go. Elias looked at the rising sun, his chest heavy with pain and pride. Then let them remember that. The rescue ships landed. Soldiers rushed forward. But above the horizon, far beyond the dawn, something else stirred. Dark shapes moved across the sky, more than one larger than the Alpha. Watching, waiting. The fight was not over. But for now, they had survived.